Hi class. Today we are looking at Chapter 1 of our Social Studies book, California's Geography and Early's People. How did California's geography influence the lives of people long ago is going to be our essential question in this chapter. Let's take a look here at the map of California. This map, it says, step into the place exploring geography. This map shows the grid formed by the intersection of California's lines of latitude and longitude. So questions that we will want to be thinking about as we're reading this chapter are why it's useful to know how to use the lines of latitude and longitude, and which city in California is closest to Mexico, and what are the latitude and longitude for the city. Well, San Diego is the closest city, but we'll look later as the chapter goes on about what the longitude and latitude of the city is. At the bottom here, we do have a timeline, and it's chronological thinking. Timelines are chronological. In other words, it tells events at the start and then goes all the way to the end. Now, this is a long time ago, 30,000 BC. And it says at about 30,000 BC, the Ice Age begins. Then, as we move along here, we've got 20,000 BC to 15,000 BC. It's Beringia appears. And then at about 15,000 BC, first people arrive in North America. And then at 10,000 BC, Ice Age ends. Now, some of you may have noticed, hey, this timeline is going backwards. It's starting old, and then it's going 25, 20, 15, 10. Well, all the dates to BC, they go backwards. Then when we get to 80, then we start going forwards. It's a little confusing, but as the timelines appear throughout this chapter, we'll note that change and when that shift happens. This is Connect Through Literature. Yotowi, A Day in 1872, by Kim Ramser, illustrated by Irving Toddy. Let's take a look at the story. Yotowi peeked out from under her soft deerskin blanket. Bare feet slapped the dusty ground around her as her family hustled to start their busy day. There would be little rest now until the winter's food was safely stored. She walked out of the lean-to house where Mama was rekindling the fire. Yotowi opened a wrapped bundle of scooped handfuls of shriveled caterpillars into a basket of water. Mama carefully lifted a hot rock from the fire with wooden tongs and lowered it sizzling into the basket to heat the water. Yotowi and her brother, Woloki, had caught the caterpillars last spring. Mama had cooked them in piles of heated dirt and laid them in the sun to dry. Later, the two children hid them in the cool California foothills to protect them from the summer sun. Only yesterday had they brought them back to their village. Yotowi gobbled her caterpillars and an acorn cake quickly, then hurried to help Mama. Mama had dug a hole in the earth, lined it with grass, and filled it with acorns that had been shelled and pounded on a great rock. Yotowi and Woloki carried bowl after bowl of water from the stream to pour over the acorns. Soon the water ran clear, which meant that the bitterness had been washed out. Mama put some of the acorn mush into a big bowl to save for tomorrow's breakfast. Yotowi gathered the rest of it, and after draining it on the grass, shaped the mush into cakes that could be cooked on a rock in a fire. They would eat some of the cakes tonight with dinner, but the rest would keep for many weeks. Luckily, the granaries were full of acorns this year. The trees had given enough for the tribe as well as for the squirrels, woodpeckers, and bears. Mama handed Yotowi a large basket and sent her down to the marsh for cattails. Like many villages of the Madu people, Yotowi's was nestled in tall silver pines above a lake. Here, the Madu were protected from the white men camping on the shores, and yet were near the oak trees along the lake and the animals they hunted. The soggy end of the lake also gave them tule reeds for their roofs and baskets. Hot from her long walk, Yotowi was happy to wade in the cool shallows looking for cattail roots. The long roots were easy to pull up from the muck, and soon her basket was overflowing. Tomorrow, she would help Mama pound them and dry them in the sun to make bread flour. Tired but cool now, Yotowi rested on the bank and ate her lunch of pemmican. It was made of deer meat that had been pounded with fat and fruits that then hung on racks to dry. She thought of her father, out on another deer hunt. She hoped he would be successful, and there would be fresh meat for dinner. As she got up to leave the marsh, Yotoi noticed white, shiny stuff on some tule leaves. She dropped her basket in excitement and splashed back into the squishy mud to gather a big bundle of the leaves. Tying them together, she carried them over her shoulder above the basket of roots. Yotoi hurried back to camp, calling Waloki to show him her treasure. They ran to Mama and begged her to let them make some treats. Mama smiled in agreement, and they sped away to get the mats. It wasn't very often that they found leaves where tiny aphid bugs had left their droppings. The droppings crystallized in the sun, making them brittle and easy to see. Yotoi and Waloki set the leaves on their tule mats and beat them with sticks until the crystals fell into a bowl. They added drops of water until the crystals were slightly damp. Then they used their hands to roll the sugary paste into balls. Yotoi and Waloki were just about to eat the candy when a call came from the ridge, signaled the hunter's return. 3 large deer hung from the poles held between the men. All the village women and older children ran to help prepare the meat for a feast. Later, after finishing her meal, Yotoi rose wearily from her place with the family. She plucked the last piece of candy from the bowl as she made her way to her deerskin. Snuggling down into its furry warmth, she lay listening to the snap of the fires and the hum of the people until she fell asleep. Let's start with Lesson 1. Lesson 1 is, where in the world is California? Finding a location. There are different ways to represent the features on the Earth's surface. The Earth is shaped like a sphere or a ball. So the best way to represent the Earth is to use a round object or sphere. A sphere that represents the Earth is called a globe. Let's take a look at this globe right here. Here are some points on it. The equator, the South Pole, North Pole, and the prime meridian. That's this line right here. And there's the equator line. Of course, in real life, you can't see those lines. It's not there. We put those lines on just to help us, and we're going to talk about those lines shortly. The hemispheres. Here we have a map of the Earth. We have the prime meridian, so that splits the map of the Earth right down the middle, going up and down, longitudinally, and then the equator, going side to side, latitude. Let's take a look at this. When using a globe to describe a location on Earth, we use imaginary lines that go all the way around. Imagine drawing a line around the middle of the sphere. This is the equator on the globe. Next, imagine drawing a line from the top of the sphere to the bottom. The top point of the globe is the North Pole, and the bottom is the South Pole. The imaginary line connecting the North and South Poles is the prime meridian. The equator and prime meridian divide a globe into 2 equal halves, or hemispheres. The part of the globe north of the equator is called the northern hemisphere. The part of the globe south of the equator is called the southern hemisphere. We call the part of the globe west of the prime meridian the western hemisphere. East of the prime meridian is the eastern hemisphere. One way to describe a location on Earth is by its relative location to the lines on a globe. California is located between the equator and the North Pole. That means it is in the northern hemisphere. California is also located west of the prime meridian. That means it is in the western hemisphere. Additional lines north and south of the equator divide the northern and southern hemispheres. These are called lines of latitude. These lines run parallel to the equator like the rungs of a ladder, so side to side. Lines of the latitude are numbered as degrees. The equator line is the line of 0 degrees latitude. The lines of latitude increase by 1 degree as you get closer to the North Pole and South Pole. The number at each pole is 90 degrees latitude. 2 special lines of latitude mark the boundary of the tropics. The Tropic of Cancer is the northern boundary of the tropics. It marks the most northern part of the Earth where the sun is directly overhead. The Tropic of Capricorn is the southern boundary of the tropics. This line marks the most southern part of the Earth where the sun is directly overhead. Did you know For thousands of years, explorers and sailors have used latitude to determine their location. This astrolabe calculates latitude by measuring distances between the horizon and certain stars or the sun. Global grid. So here we have the globe right here, and these are the lines of longitude and the lines of latitude. And you can see they're numbered 30 degrees south, 60 degrees south, 90 degrees south, 30 degrees north, 60 degrees north. And then we have here 0, 30 degrees west, 90 degrees west, and so on. And then the eastern hemisphere, it goes east. Lines of longitude run from North Pole to the South Pole and are measured in degrees. The prime meridian is the line of 0 degrees longitude. Longitude lines are labeled in degrees east and west from the prime meridian. They meet on the other side of the globe at the line of 180-degree longitude. Lines of latitude and longitude are universal. They are the same on every map and globe. You can use them to find absolute locations of places on either a map or a globe. To find an exact location, you can use latitude and longitude. Look at both lines of the map of California. The grid shows that California borders are within the 30th and 40th lines of north latitude and the 114th and 125th degrees lines of west longitude. And remember, that was one of our essential questions that we were looking at the start of the chapter. Where is California located? It's right here. Putting California on the map. Maps and globes have other ways to describe location too. A compass rose is a figure on a globe, map or globe used to show the directions of north, south, east, and west. Here's a compass rose right here. Using a compass rose, you can describe the location of a place relative to another. For example, you can describe San Francisco as being north of Los Angeles. So here's Los Angeles. Our compass rose shows that north goes up. There's San Francisco. So based on the compass rose, we can see San Francisco is north of Los Angeles. A map key unlocks information needed for a map to make sense. Map keys are often boxes in the corner of a map. The information in the map key is often shown as colors, lines, or symbols. For example, a green color on a map may be used to show a forest or a park. A map key is also known as a map legend. So here's the map key or legend on this map right here. The star means it's a state capital. Small dot, other city. A triangle is a mountain peak, and that green color there means it's a national park. A map scale compares the distance on a map relative to the real distance on Earth. For example, a map scale may show 1 inch on a map equals 100 real miles. And that's what we have going on right here in this. So this scale shows that 1 inch is 200 miles. All right, let's take a look at the next page. Regions of the United States. Oh, we can look at our map key right here. These colors show what the different regions are. We have Middle West, Mountain, Northwest, Southeast, Southwest, and West. And you can see, based on the map, what color the map is, what region a state is in. So California is in the West region because it is orange. The United States can be divided into 6 main regions. These regions are made up of states with common features. The 6 regions are Northeast, Southeast, Middle West, Mountain, Southwest, and West. Sometimes, boys and girls, Middle West is called the Midwest. California is located in the region called the West. This region includes California's closest neighbors, Oregon, Nevada, and Washington, and includes Hawaii and Alaska. The west coast of California borders the Pacific Ocean. Each region has its own special features. California has mountain ranges and arid deserts, just like other states in the West. However, some features of California cannot be found anywhere else in the region. Those features are part of what makes California unique. Maps and physical features. So here's the United States physical map. So it's a map of the U.S. And if we take a closer look here, we have the map key. country boundary, state boundary, continental divide. And here we have Hawaii and Alaska included on these little small boxes here because they're too far away to include on a smaller map like this. You would need a large map or a globe to include them where they actually are. A map can show the exact location of a place with latitude and longitude. It can show a place's relative location compared to its surroundings. A map can show physical features too. Physical features include natural landforms and waterways. They include things that people have built, such as cities and roads. They include climate, the kind of weather that a place has over a long time, and vegetation, plant life. Maps can help you find your way. They also can help you understand how physical features affect people. For example, living in the mountains is different from living near a coastal bay. There are different opportunities and different challenges. California, a state of diversity. Maps and globes show California relative to the rest of the world. California is in the west region of the United States. It is a part of the continent of North America. It is in the western hemisphere of the Earth. Latitude and longitude coordinates can identify an exact location on a map, right down to your school. Maps and globes also show that California is a diverse place. It has many kinds of physical features. California's land, water, climate, and vegetation make it a special place to call home. Primary source. A primary source is something that was written by somebody who was actually there. In their words, California's state song. I love you, land of sunshine. Half your beauties are untold. I loved you in my childhood, and I'll love you when I'm old. From the song, I Love You, California. All right, boys and girls, go back and rewatch or reread any section that you need to, and we'll see you soon.